He is intelligent and quietly agitated, like a soda shaken up in a can. You can't see the carbonated pressure built up until it explodes. His parents are educated professionals, father an engineer, mother a teacher in another school district. Sammy shits in his pants. That's what should be written in his school file. Sammy sits in front with several other kids that need attention. Squirrels, my husband calls them. The others benefit from this closer scrutiny, but Sammy doesn't respond well. He seems to get angrier, even now during art. He's painting the California state flag on a white t-shirt, using so much red paint it soaks through the thin cotton and spreads across the top of the desk. Sammy keeps layering on more paint, his hand rigidly holding the dripping brush and pressing it down, and I can't stop him. He can't stop himself. His face is pinched as he stares at the soaked red lines on the t-shirt. And then I smell him. He's shit right here in the classroom in the middle of painting. I signal to Ed, who rushes over and demands Sammy hand over the brush. Sammy glares at him for a moment before he complies. Ed sends him to the bathroom. Sammy's file states he had hemorrhoids and anal fissures which made defecating excruciatingly painful when he was very young. He compensated by holding in his feces and tightening his sphincter muscles. The result was even more pain as the turds hardened before they finally popped out from the accumulated pressure of all that shit building up. I don't believe this explanation, but I'm sure it makes his parents feel better, releasing them from any responsibility for letting potty training turn into an act of slow, stinking rage. I think deciding when to shit is the one thing he can control in his life. Sammy glares at the world through black-rimmed glasses and rubs away scratchy, spun-glass tears. Sammy can roar, the ancient sound of an alligator. Sammy's therapist puts him on medication for ADHD. After talking to the therapist, Ed moves him to a desk in the back of the classroom. He schedules a conference with Sammy's father, who confronts Ed angrily insisting Sammy does his work, but just forgets to hand it in every morning. He demands Ed retrieve the work from Sammy's overfilled backpack, or ask another student to do it. The father yells, and his rage lifts him up from his chair. Well, shouting had been my father-in-law's preferred tone towards Ed, and Ed promised himself when he grew up he would never let anyone yell at him again without yelling back twice as loud until they stopped. So, my husband matches the anger and the sharp words. He, too, stands across the child-sized table, shouting back at Sammy's father, "You bring him to school every day. Why don't you come in and pull out his homework? I've got 30 other kids." It is now a collision of wills. The father sits, still smoldering. The meeting ends. It sounds to me like Sammy's father is the one that needs meds. Sammy's hostile father reluctantly starts accompanying him into the classroom in the morning and handing in the homework Sammy did but never remembers to turn in. Sammy's father scowls at Ed. Ed ignores him. After the Christmas break, Sammy's therapist calls Ed and says she has prescribed some new type of pill for Sammy. The medicine seems to help, but Sammy still shits in class. Ed schedules another parent conference, but Sammy's father never comes. The rituals of parenthood seldom invite the truth. Everything is measured in success or failure. Ed credited his own father's wrath with making him into a strong man. It is hard for me to understand. Despair and rage are too closely aligned in the men and boys for whom I grieve.
Barishnikov. I regret that I am not a cactus, deep inside of a man's pocket, trying to turn sound and science into something you want to touch but can't. I regret that my love has not buried me in the desert, in some canyon the fuck away from everything I can't name. I want him to bury me in the desert, in the red dirt, in a canyon the fuck away from everything I can't name, but I don't want him to leave me there alone. I regret that I am not two golden eagles as they circle each other above us, me and him. We are naked in the desert, and he kisses me but doesn't touch me because He knows I want to be a cactus. Eagles are the rarest birds in my poetry because they don't exist. I regret that eagles don't exist. When I was my father, I saw that goddamn American bird pick up a snake and put it in its fat sack to kill after the war. But these eagles exist and have 2 planets for eyes. They tell us they're real and we believe them because we're young and in love and are trying our hardest not to die first. In their minds, they're not eagles, but instead one is a poet and the other a dancer. The poet and dancer look down at us and can't believe everything on this rock that presses itself together so well spends so much time not in love. I regret that I am not a cactus that tries to keep close everything it touches. I regret that I am not alone in a cornfield, spinning to music only I can hear. I regret that I am not a verb, like to spin, or to stitch, or to leave. For the first time in history, I regret that I cannot live faster, and that's the luck of it, isn't it? To be seduced by marble columns and the bridge of a man's nose, and want absolutely nothing but to press your own nose against his. I regret that I cannot live faster, and that's the luck of it, getting ready to leave for the night, watching him gently embrace the sofa, and wanting to touch the same spot his fingers touched just moments before, pushing his glasses up the bridge of his nose. You're a 23-year-old fuck-up, a man in a bar tells me, and your boyfriend is not going to marry you. He's right, of course. The oracles have been saying the same thing for years. You aren't going to marry the man lying next to you. He'll be a new man, and I regret that I'll be a new man for my boyfriend to marry. I regret that I will not marry my boyfriend. I'll go out with myself to the drawers of some city the fuck away from everything I can't name. I regret that I am not a canyon as it folds back into itself with the sun. I regret that I am not a canyon that folds back into its selves with the sun. But I'm distracted because for the first time I have felt the regret that comes when you know you have almost ruined someone's life. And you know that you have almost ruined someone's life when you ask them to pass the salt and they start to weep uncontrollably. And that's the luck of it, isn't it? When the sparrows, who are more real than eagles, refuse to fly over your head. I regret that I do not have my love's head pressed against my own, that we spend so much time not in love. And yes, that's how you know you have almost ruined someone's life, when you see in their eyes the desire to push you over the overpass, because you almost killed their 8-year-old son. And that's the luck of it, isn't it? Because this is why we have insurance. Because accidents happen. Because in a way, the boy even looked like Baryshnikov. I regret that I will not be the man my boyfriend marries. I regret that I am not a poem to recite to yourself while walking alone to your car at night. I regret that I am not a song to dance to on a park bench in the rain. But of all the things I am not, the one I most regret not being is a cactus. Yes, a cactus. Something you want to touch but can't. Something that tries so hard to continue to touch everything it can. A cactus only hurts what wants to be hurt. And when you find me, rolling under your seat as you dig for your keys in your purse, as you pull your phone out of your pocket, as you pull into another lane on the freeway, Know that I am not a cactus and I am sorry, but I may still hurt you, whether you want me to.